Not a hoax is indeed Critical Role Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is the new book coming on March 16th or 17th of this year. If you want to see a little bit more about it, pretty much everything we talked about was covered yesterday, but we do actually have some feedback from Matt himself. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So here we are on the official Wizards of the Coast website. You can see the cover art here. Not sure if we're going to get pulled the similar thing we had happen with Eberron, where we get one cover art, people complain about it, and then it changes to something else. But you can see we have the Bright Queen here. We have a king. Maybe this is King Dwendal. I don't know. And then we have the dodecahedron beacon in the middle here. And let's go ahead and read through, see if we have any more concrete information than we had yesterday. I think it's pretty much all the same. But let's see. Okay, Wildemount set in the world of Exandria, land of war, betrayal, swashbuckling adventure. 4-region, Wildemount provides endless potential for an adventure in a land of brewing conflict and incredible magic. Rising tensions boil over in the all-out war between the politically dubious Dwendalian Empire and the light-worshipping waste folk of Xhorhas, supplying a vibrant backdrop for any campaign to explore. Cover a trove of new options usable in any campaign, subclasses, spells, magic items, monsters, and more, rooted in the adventures of Critical Role, such as the vestiges of Diverges and the possibility manipulating magic of Dunamancy. So this we definitely read yesterday. New backstories, discover mysteries revealed from the first time by Critical Role Dungeon Master Matt Mercer. So, an expansive Wildemount gazetteer. Descriptions of the major factions of Wildemount. So again, if you're going to be running a game in this world, or you are just curious to have more content to consume when off weeks of Critical Role, that'll be useful. Player options that include new subclasses, new spells, and a tool to help players deeply integrate their character into the setting. So, one thing I want to point out right here is it does not say new classes, so those of you clamoring for a officially canonical Blood Hunter does not seem you're going to get it. You may, however, perhaps get a version of the Gunslinger subclass that Percy played in the first campaign. I don't think you will, but it's a possibility. One thing that some people brought up, that I actually brought up in my reviews from a while back, is I said if you looked back at a lot of the new subclasses, the psionic-y kind of ones, the different warlock ones, and the cleric of the Twilight, and I made comments in my videos that they did seem very similar to some of the Critical Role characters in Campaign 2. The underwater kind of warlock thing, kind of similar to Ford. The Cleric of the Twilight, kind of similar to the way Jester is. So I could be wrong, and I more than likely am, but you may be seeing those subclasses that we saw in the Unearthed Arcana. Some of those may be subclasses that Matt had pitched to Wizards that will now be coming out published in this book. I don't know, but we could definitely draw some parallels, so that may be part of it. Potentially, you may also see, and I don't know if there's rights between Green Ronin and Wizards and how that works. There were a bunch of subclasses that were published in the previous Exandria, Player's Guide to Exandria, or whatever it was called, the other Critical Role book that was published under Green Ronin Publishing a few years back. That had subclasses, and I think it had a Blood Domain Cleric, which I know at least one of the characters in Matt's current campaign 2, I think is one of those, one of the NPCs. So that could possibly be republished, but I don't know if there's like legal rights there. We may see the Cobalt Soul monk that Beauregard in Campaign 2 plays, may possibly be one of the published subclasses. Again, we really have no concept. The only thing we know is that there were new subclasses put out in Unearthed Arcana, and there are the subclasses that are contained on the show. So perhaps those are what we're going to see in the book. New spells, they mentioned the possibility of Dunamancy magic. We know that Caleb in the show, if you watch the show, he's created some unique versions of spells for himself, and they've also found ideas of this Dunamancy probability, time control kind of magic, things like altering your initiative, giving you rerolls, that kind of a thing. So we may be seeing that, or we may be seeing entirely new, just brand new spells. And what I'm probably most interested in myself is this tool to help players deeply integrate their character into the setting. Again, the setting being Wildemount, but perhaps that can be extrapolated and altered to be applied in any campaign to help make your characters more invested in the world around them. New magic items, including weapons that become more powerful to match their wielders. They reference the vestiges of divergence up above. If you're unfamiliar, these were super crazy legendary items that they dealt with heavily in Campaign 1, and they were very similar to the old Wizards of the Coast book Weapons of Legacy from 3.5. It may have existed previously. I don't want to alienate any of the grognards or people from 2E and before. I only know 3.5, so that's what I can use as an example. There was a book called Weapons of Legacy, which was the concept of a weapon that you get very early on or you find, and you do certain things to unlock, ascend, attune, advance, whatever the case may be, that weapon, and it makes it more powerful as you level up. So, like, let's say you found this dagger, right, at level 1, and it's just like a cool dagger, and it doesn't really do, it might do something, maybe it lights up, right? Then you kill 15 enemies with this dagger's blade under the light of the bright sun, then now it advances and now it does an extra d4 of fire damage. And then if you use the fire from the dagger to burn something, blah, 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 then it unlocks a new version and things like that. The vestiges of divergence in the original book, which again, I'm curious because are there publishing rights between the book that came out under Green Ronin's publishing? Because all of the vestiges of divergence that existed that we knew of were published in that book. Will they be republished and updated to fit into the 5th edition balance scenario in this book? Or will they be entirely new magic items? I don't know. But they basically had, at least in the previous version they came out with, they were 3. Basically, you had the magic item, it did something. There was something that it got like attuned or enhanced, and then it became ascended. It had 3 versions, and each time things got better. There are some good 5th edition third-party resources out there that have that. If you're curious, let me know, and I'll leave you a couple links to check them out for yourself. But I've actually used these in a bunch of my campaigns as well. The idea of someone getting a really cool item that they built as part of their backstory that they wouldn't want to get rid of because it's a cool magic item, or just a cool item, something sentimental, the sword that they forged with their father. And it's just like, well, this is super sentimental to me. Why would I just get rid of it for the +1 sword that I found that's actually mechanically better, but this one has more sentimental value, so you make that kind of advance. So that's a thing you could use as well. New creatures native to Wildemount. No one's going to say no to new monsters. Everybody, at least as far as I know as a DM, more monsters is better for everybody. Usually not the players, but for the DMs for sure. And 4 introductory adventures, 1 for each region of Wildemount. So we kind of knew about that, so now that explains what the 4 different adventures are. Character intro stuff could be fun for a one-shot, could be fun to get your friends who you want to watch Critical Role, but they're not interested in the setting. Maybe this is a way to get them indoctrinated into Critical Role by letting them play in an adventure that you run set in it, if that's something you're trying to do. Largely written... and helmed by Matt Mercer, the Dungeon Master of Critical Role and creator of the World of Exandria. This 304, they actually give us the page count, 304-page book features work by talented designers, writers, and artists from D&D and the Critical Role communities. The art is something that I'm hoping is going to be largely, I know Wizards has an art team, but Critical Role has a massive artist community, so I'd hope that some of that the fan art makes its way into the book, but I don't know. They try to go for a similar art style for all D&D books. The only time that had changed was obviously with the Rick and Morty stuff, the Stranger Things stuff, and the Acquisitions Incorporated, because that has its own very unique art style as well. That may be something we see going forward, is that in these collaboration books where it's Dungeons and Dragons X something else, they may change the art style up a little bit. I don't know, but that could be interesting. Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is an expansive, vivid campaign setting anyone can enjoy regardless of your familiarity with Critical Role, and an open invitation to make the mysteries and dangers in Wildemount your own. Okay, so that's the general thing from the Wizards website. March 17th is the current listed release date, but Matt did put a post on the Dungeons and Dragons Reddit. Not the Critical Role Reddit, this is the D&D Reddit. And I wanted to grab a couple things from this because, as I've seen by the hundreds of comments from the video that I only put out yesterday that you guys have had, it is a massively polarizing concept of this book. And, I also did feel a little bit back and forth on it on my end. There was a lot of you that are like, I absolutely love this. I love Critical Role. I can't wait for this. There were a lot of you that are like, nah, I don't want this. This isn't what I wanted. This sucks. And then there was actually, what I was surprising was a large faction of people that are like, I love Critical Role and I love Matt and I support what he's doing, but this isn't the book that I wanted. That's probably what surprised me the most, was the amount of people that weren't just like hardcore on the Critical Role hype train, all aboard, let's do that. The people that were just like downright, no, I don't want Matt Mercer and any of that stuff. There was most people were in the middle. Like, I like Critical Role and what it respects, and I respect it, and I understand what it's done for D&D and everything, but that's not what I wanted. So it was interesting to see that most of the people that were saying they didn't want it also happened to be fans of the show. But there's a couple things I wanted to pull from this that I thought Matt had said, and I thought he said it pretty well. I am also well aware of how much negativity can permeate these spaces regarding myself and the games we play, and that's okay. One could never expect our form of storytelling and gaming to be everyone's cup of tea, and it could very well be that this just isn't the book for you. I don't begrudge you that. I only hope one day we get a chance to roll some dice at a convention and swap stories about our love of the game. I know for some folks this isn't necessarily what they're hoping for, or hoping the announcement would be, and I'm sorry for that. So right there, Matt is coming out up front and telling everybody, hey, listen, I get it. He understands the concept, I'm sure, of the Mercer effect, the Matt Mercer effect. A lot of people have talked about that. I'm not going to do a video or go into it myself. You can look up there. Tons of people have done videos on it. Check it out for yourself. But he's going out and saying, I get it. We may do things that don't fit for you, and I'm sorry if this isn't the book you wanted, but I hope, and I do actually believe that where he says, I hope we get to roll dice together at a convention and swap stories. And I honestly do believe that that is true. And then this part, I thought, was something that will also help to alleviate some of the potential anger and things. As a person excited and clamoring for new settings to be brought into the D&D multiverse, I also understand the frustrations from some that this isn't one of the, quote, classics. Believe you me, I'm one of those who is ever shouting, I want my Planescape/Dark Sun, and said so loudly multiple times while in the Wizards of the Coast's offices. Know that my setting doesn't eliminate, delay, or consume any such plans they may have for any future projects. I'm not stepping on such wonderful legacy properties, these same ones that inspired me growing up. This is just the new kids stepping into that area and hoping one of the older kids will sit and have lunch with them. If Wizards has any plans to release any of their much-demanded settings, they'll come whether or not Wildemount showed up. And then this is something I also wanted to see, because a lot of you had a comment that were like, this is going to be garbage because it's going to take Matt Mercer's homebrew overpowered monstrosities of classes and things and make them become real, and that's going to ruin 5th edition. And he actually addresses that too, which I thought was, good on him getting out in front of it. I also wanted to comment on the occasionally invoked negative opinions on my homebrew designs I've seen here, and they aren't wrong. I don't have the lengthy design history and experience that many of you within this community do have. Outside of small home game stuff I messed with through the 2000s, my journey on the public path of homebrew began as a reaction to online community demanding and throwing out my inexperienced ideas in a very public space. Much of my early homebrew has myself learning as I went, as all of us begin, only with a large portion of the internet screaming at me for my mistakes and lack of knowledge. Even my Tal'Dorei guide homebrew was rushed due to demands being made of me, and I continue to learn so many lessons since. The occasional unwarranted intensity aside, there is much appreciated constructive criticism I've received over the years, from Reddit included, that has helped me grow and improve. Anyway, what I mention all this for is to express my thanks for all the wonderful feedback, the chances to learn from all of you as time has gone on, and the many elements of this book reflect that improvements as I took those lessons and collaborated with the official Wizards of the Coast team to make this as good as it could be. Anyway, that's enough rambling from an insecure nerd. I'm extremely proud of what we've done with this book. I hope you give it a shot and enjoy it. I really do. If you do choose to pass on it, that's totally cool, and I'm just happy we find joy in the same pastime. Either way, be kind to each other and keep on forging amazing stories together. Heart, or less than 3, Mercer. So there you have it. I do feel like most of the issues that a lot of people have come out and said about, things they've had contentions with this new book. And again, if you watched the video from yesterday, I'm kind of in the same boat. I was not expecting this. I was expecting something, a bunch of other things that people have already suggested, new campaign settings, a Xanathar's Guide 2, yada, yada, yada. A lot of you brought up the Adventure League comment about this will be likely another book with content that can't be used in the Adventures League, and if that's the only way you can play, then that really sucks for you, and I feel bad for you because of that. But I did want to take those notes from Matt's Reddit post, and a big thank you to several people who have gone out of their way to keep messaging me and let me know. Specifically, again, CF_Smith, who provided several documentation pieces to me, but there have been, I gotta say, these news videos have been great. I don't even have to do my own research anymore. You guys send me everything within seconds of it being published, so I'm always kept in the loop, and I do appreciate that. So again, regardless of what you feel about the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, this is, again, more coverage of it. I will, again, as I've stated, I'll be picking up a copy of this book. I'll be giving away copies of this book like I always do, and I will be doing full coverage of it. If that's not a book for you or you're not interested in it, then feel free to not watch those videos. I totally get it. If you want to get my take on what's contained in those books, then when those videos come out, go ahead and watch them. I will be doing full-blown coverage of it. If you want to see just what my thoughts are on the monsters, watch just the monster video. If you want to see the subclasses, watch the subclass video. Regardless of what it is, it's here to stay. It's coming in less than just a little over 2 months from now. But I am curious, with this little bit more information behind it and Matt's comments, has it changed your mind at all on it? Are you still as upset as you were yesterday? Has the wounds healed a little bit? Are you more upset? What are your thoughts? I want to know. Please leave them in the comments below. There's a lot of people down there with a lot of really great opinions, and I do try to literally read every comment I get. And for years, that used to be really easy because it was 2 comments. As of now, it's getting into the hundreds, so it's a little harder, but I am still dedicating as much time to it as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and there is still 2 days left to enter our 10,000 subscriber YouTube giveaway. I'll put a link in the description for that as well. I'll also put a link to Amazon if you want to go pre-order it for yourself. Some people already brought up that the price on Amazon to pre-order it is already up almost $5 from when I made the video from yesterday. So I can't promise if that'll change between now and the release of the book, but something to consider. I'll see you guys next time. Also, how about how my voice just cracked, huh? Pretty crazy.